Cape Canaveral. That is on the east side of Florida, in the United States, then Florida on the east side. And it is the main launching rocket site for the rockets of the United States of America, for the NASA. And from 1963 until 1973, it was called Cape Kennedy. And now since 1950, there is doing the US military, the US Air Force test firing of military missiles. And then the NASA also used it to make things. 1958, the first satellite was launched from there into space. And the Saturn rockets for the Apollo and Skylab program were there assembled and launched from there then. And also the space shuttle are intended to be used there on that place. And that is all according to the Reader's Digest Library of Modern Knowledge, Book 1, Part 1, Structure of the Universe, written by Ian Ridworth and Jonas Shakespeare. The whole book written in the 1970s, on the page 50. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn space science today, Cape Canaveral, and after example we're going to do body center training. And if you participate in the body center training, then it's that at your homes. Cape Canaveral, and the book is from the 1970s. Cape Canaveral. This is the main US launching site for space rockets. It lies on the Atlantic coast of Florida. So Florida is the south of the United States. Yes, on that. On that one. On the first book is on that. It lies in the United States. There's on the eastern side is Florida, and then on the eastern side of Florida. There is Cape Canaveral, and there are space rockets flying out into space from the United States of America. It was renamed Cape Kennedy in 1963, but in 1973 reverted to its original name. Okay, from 1963 until 1973, it had the name Cape Kennedy. Cape Canaveral has been used since 1950 for test firing military missiles, which are tracked by the US Air Force from a chain of islands and ships in the Atlantic in an area known as the Eastern Test Range. Why have they to be tracked? Tracked by the US Air Force from a chain of islands and ships in the Atlantic. Okay. From 1950 onwards, also the US military has used Cape Canaveral for test firing military missiles. In 1958, the USA put its first satellite into orbit from Cape Canaveral. 1958, first satellite into orbit. Since then, it has been the launch site for major US unmanned and manned space missions. Okay, the major launching site of rockets. Many of the launch pads at Cape Canaveral are operated by the US Air Force. Okay, many of the launching pads, launching sites, are operated by the military of the USA. For non-military purposes, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, built the Kennedy Space Center, whose staff assembled and launched the Saturn rockets for the Apollo and Skylab programs. Some are for military purpose for the US Air Force, other ones are non-military purpose, for example, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the NASA, and they have built the Kennedy Space Center, and the people were assembled and launched the Saturn rockets for the Apollo and Skylab programs. So the Saturn rockets for the Apollo and Skylab programs were assembled and launched from there by the NASA, which is also operating there, where also the US Air Force is operating at Cape Canaveral at the east coast of Florida. The same giant launch pads and vehicle assembly building are also to be used for the recoverable space shuttle. And also the space shuttles. I'm wondering if there's a possibility to express it with saying that it was planned in the 70s when the book was written. It was also planned that the space shuttles are going from there. Okay, we have information together. I'm going to start the second camera and try to see it. 6373 Cape Kennedy. Atlantic is in the east coast of Florida. Main site for launching rockets of NASA and also US Air Force is using this for test firing military missiles. 1958 first satellite, since 50s military, 1958 first satellite. And the Saturn rockets were assembled and launched for Apollo and Skylab programs. And also the space shuttle programs should be done there. Cape Canaveral, that is on the east side of Florida, in the United States, where Florida on the east side. And it is the main launching rocket site for the rockets of the United States of America, for the NASA. And from 1963 until 1973, it was called Cape Kennedy. And now since 1950, there is doing the US military, the US Air Force test firing of military missiles. And then the NASA also used it to make things. 1958, the first satellite was launched from there to space. And the Saturn rockets for the Apollo and Skylab program were there assembled and launched from there then. And also the space shuttle are intended to be used there on that place. And that is all according to the readers, that is Library of Modern Knowledge, Book 1, Part 1, Structure of the Universe, written by Ian Ridworth and Jonas Shakespeare. The whole book was written in the 1970s, on the page 50. And it was a space science body. If you're here for space science, you come directly to the next part of space science, where we will continue with space science. If you stay here and participate in the body-centered training, then it's better at your home. One leg, no. Legs are standing hip width apart, down into the knees, legs, press them together, straighten one leg. Bend it again. The other leg, straighten it. Bend it again, and up. A bit apart, a bit down, legs, press them together. Over to one side, and the other side. Middle. A bit closer together, press to the outside. And now one leg up, right angle with the leg, flex foot, even line tips taller with the back, and press on the top against the knee. And from the side. Press up to the side. Press from the outside. Upside. Close again. The other leg up. Press from the top. And from the inside. Press up and to the side. And the other leg. Press on the outside. Upside. Close again. And now 3 exercises on the ground. First, a side plank on the elbow. And bend the front leg up. And on the long arm, one arm hold one leg up, pull the knee to the elbow. And over to the other side. First on the elbow. Bend the front leg up. Bend on the long arm. One arm out, leg up, pull knee to elbow. And up. One heel onto the ground, pull the toes in. Move the leg from left to right. Other heel onto the ground, pull the toes in. Move the leg from left to right. One leg up. Other one. Take the leg at the ankle. Tuck the tailbone in. Change. Legs to the sides, breathing it down. In and out. Breathe in, close the legs. Breathing out. That was the body-centered training. I thank you very much, and until next time.